Okay, it looks like we are working and we are 6 minutes behind thanks to some kind of weird glitch with Restream. So here we go. Sorry for the delay, folks. Restream was not functioning for whatever reason. I could not get them to function. But yeah, here we go. Coffee talk. So we are we are now live. No musical interlude. No nothing today, ladies and gentlemen. We do have cats. I do have cats in the room. I've got Miss Granny Smith down here keeping me company, but finally made it on. I don't know if anyone is out there yet, but Coffee Talk on YouTube, on Coffee Talk in Prepper University, podcasting live, or trying to, if Restream will freaking let me do it. Anyone out there yet? And I see Gary is the first one to chime in. How you doing, Gary? Glad somebody can see and hear me. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com. There it is. Again, we are 6 minutes behind schedule because Restream just would not work. It would not connect. And I wasn't having any connectivity issues. Everything else was working just fine. It's just Restream being weird again. JJ is here. Sven is here, as well as Chillin' Dave, as people are starting to pop in. I know that screws everything up when that happens. I've got Granny Smith. There she is. Hi, darling. Granny Smith there, cleaning herself up on the floor, sitting next to me here, keeping me company. No one else in the room, I don't believe. Kimberly is here. Dragon, Helter, as we play catch up here. And you saw Biden on my thumbnail. Hopefully it's there, and Restream didn't screw that up too, because I've been having issues with that where I'll set things up and then I'll go and I'll look on YouTube and there's no thumbnail and I have to correct it. So hopefully you all saw that. We'll get to that in a minute, but we're going to start with Brian Thompson today. Brian Thompson, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this. It's actually more interesting than it seems for a variety of reasons. And this is going to be a Chicago Tribune article as we open up about Brian Thompson. Brian Thompson, of course, is the United Healthcare CEO that was assassinated. Gary said he got a late notice at 11:05 Pacific time. 11:05. I must have told you that I was on, but then, delay as we catch up here. John suggests health insurance CEOs are afraid. Here's the thing. I'll read you this real quick. There's not much flying around about this, but I have done some digging and I found out a few things that are quite interesting. And the Chicago says here, a shooter killed United Healthcare's CEO in an ambush in New York. Okay, first of all, he's not the only CEO. He's on a board. There are several. So it's not like he's the guy in charge. Let's just clear that up real quick. But I'll read the article. A gunman killed United Healthcare's CEO on Wednesday in a brazen targeted attack outside a Manhattan hotel where the health insurer was holding its investor conference, setting off a massive search for the fleeing assailant hours before the annual Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting. Brian Thompson, 50, shot at 6:45 a.m. as he walked alone in the New York Hilton Midtown from a nearby hotel. The shooter appeared to be lying in wait for several minutes before approaching Thompson from behind and opening fire. Police had not established a motive. I've got one for you. We'll talk about it. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target. According to Tish, who is the police commissioner currently, adding the shooting does not appear to be random. Surveillance video reviewed by investigators shows someone emerging from behind a parked car, pointing a gun at Thompson's back, firing multiple times from several feet away. The gunman continues firing, interrupted by a brief jam as Thompson stumbles forward and falls to the sidewalk. And he then walks directly past Thompson in the frame of the video. And it goes on to tell you that what he looked like from what you could see of him. He had a jacket, face mask, large backpack. so on and so forth. Now, what has just been revealed, and it's not, I don't believe it's in this article, it says they found several 9mm shell casings outside the hotel and a cell phone in an alleyway where the shooter fled to. Now, on those shell casings, they've been engraved. This is not in the news yet. They were engraved with the title of a book about abuse in the healthcare system. But I think this is a redirection, and I'm going to talk about it. Okay. I think it's a complete redirection, and I'll tell you why. And this is something else that's also not in the news that I happen to know about. Chillin says United Healthcare is horrible. Monkey says he feels like this is going to increase the premiums when it comes to next year. Chillin says accountants telling doctors how to heal folks. John said CEO scheduled to testify before Congress. Now you see where I'm going, John, and I'll get into that. Brian says the guy who played as Donnie Darko having memes made out of him for looking like the shooter. And Gary said there were messages on the bullet casings. Yes. But I believe it's an inscription of the title of a book on healthcare. And I think that could be total misdirection because the CEOs, not just this guy, because remember that Brian here was not the only CEO. Okay. He was not there are several. The CEOs are under investigation from the Department of Justice for insider trading. A bunch of them, including the victim, just before the Department of Justice announced that they were opening an investigation on these people, like literally days before, dumped tons of United Healthcare stock. Tons of it. And this guy in particular, this is the first time he ever sold any. Also, his wife says he's been getting death threats. So there were, so now we have a guy who's under investigation, him and a bunch of others. See, again, he's not the only one. Brian Thompson is one of several. You know how that works in these companies. Under investigation for insider trading by the Department of Justice. They've been subpoenaed, I believe. They're supposed to give witness. I guess speculation. Maybe someone didn't want Brian to talk. Maybe somebody didn't want Brian to talk. Maybe the inscriptions, casings are redirection. Oh, this is some nut who got screwed over on his insurance. So that it doesn't look like it was a professional hit. Or maybe they found somebody who was pushed over the edge and convinced him to do it. Here's your big chance. We'll tell you where he's going to be. You can get revenge. But serve as well. Kind of like how in Breaking Bad, when Heisenberg put the bomb in dude's wheelchair. He's like, I know you hate me, but there's someone you hate more. I wonder about that. What's also interesting is how much nastiness is coming across the internet and social media talking about this guy. People who don't even know he existed. Never even heard of him before. Laughing about it. Making fun of it. Putting out crazy memes. And it's like, do you even have United Healthcare, or you just want to lash out? And the media is wondering why so much nastiness from people. Do you not know anything about people? People are evil and stupid. It doesn't surprise me at all that they'll make fun of this guy. They'll make fun of anybody who got killed because they can. If human beings have an opportunity to show their ass, they will do it. And Dilo says, have we heard the Chinese hacked iPhone and Android? Yeah, I heard something about that. People have been asked to refrain from texting for a little while. But the hack, they're not looking for information from your average person. It was a broad sort of a hack to try to get political information, as it were. But the spectrum was too wide. But yeah, JJ says you're thinking inside job possibly from another board member. Again, speculation. It's a possibility. That's a strong possibility that could be it. This whole thing could be region. Oh yeah, we'll make it like it's some nut trying to get even for crappy insurance. And it could be anything from the truth. Monkey says, yeah, the nursing home scene where Gus got blown up. That's right. He walks out and he adjusts his tie and then he falls down dead. Monkey says, by Hector, that's right, that was paralyzed from the event in the beginning of Breaking Bad. And Gary says, blue sky is unsympathetic. Unsympathetic. Hello, Monkey. And Monkey has joined us. How you doing, buddy? Monkey, everybody. I had to change your name to Squirmy. That's what I need to do. Because you do not hold still. He doesn't hold still unless he's sitting on top of you. And Jane has joined us. Glad you could make it today. We were just talking about Brian, of course, who was one of the chief CEOs at United Healthcare, who was shot in New York. And some of the possibilities that might be behind it. Again, he's under federal investigation, as are several other CEOs, for the possibility of insider trading. They're supposed to turn evidence. It is possible this entire shooting incident could be redirection. Could be an attempt to make it look like someone seeking revenge, or maybe somebody was manipulated into doing it to cover for someone else. It could be there are other people who were part of something shady that was going on that wanted to make sure Brian would keep his mouth shut instead of turning evidence. Who knows? This is one of those things where you may never find out what the truth is. And it could be it was just some nut who was pissed about his insurance. It could be. But speaking of shady, ladies and gentlemen, hi, Monkey. I like you too. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Kimberly says Monkey is taking over the show. Yes, he is. Monkey decided he wanted attention. And yeah, he'll be damned if he doesn't get it. He'll be damned if he doesn't get it. But wow, are we going to work here today's restream, or are we just going to jam everything up again? Because I'm getting a lot of delays here. I'm trying to open up a New York Post article, and it's giving me a hard time while Monkey messes up my beard. Thank you for that. I really wanted to look like Santa Claus today. It is the season. New York Post article, Biden White House mulls for Anthony Fauci, Adam Schiff, and Liz Cheney. Holy. And this is something that he did yesterday, or not yesterday, but the other day, for his son, giving him preemptive pardons for any cases that may come up over anything he could have possibly been involved with for the last 10 years. And I'm like, is that even possible? Is that even possible to preemptively give someone a pardon for something that they haven't been charged from yet? Can that happen? Can that even? And now Biden is discussing the possibility of giving preemptive pardons to staff members. President Biden's top aides are reportedly weighing the idea of issuing preemptive pardons to current and former government officials ahead of President-elect Trump's inauguration. Former Representative Liz Cheney, Senator-elect Adam Schiff, and Dr. Anthony Fauci are among those being discussed as potentially needing a pardon before Trump takes office. Fauci has been accused by Republicans and watchdog groups of lying to Congress about origins of the C virus and his use of private email account to conduct government business. A spoken critic of the president-elect was a leading figure in Representatives' investigations into Trump's possible role in January 6th at the Capitol building. The pardon discussions have been spearheaded by White House counsel Ed Siskel and have involved other top West Wing officials, including Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. But Biden, who's 82, has not yet been involved directly in those deliberations. Let me close out the article because I think it's causing Restream some problems. So, yeah, wouldn't that be something if he does go ahead and sign off on that? He's already, the whole Democrat Party is already up to their eyeballs in the mire, as it were, over the fact that Hunter Biden was given the pardons that he was. And it's not the first time a relative has been the recipient of a pardon. I believe Bill Clinton gave a pardon to a relative, but that was not a direct relative. I think it was like a brother-in-law or something. Does anybody remember? And it wasn't nearly as serious as the trouble that Hunter was in, if I remember correctly. If I remember that correctly. And John's Life is here. He says he has pneumonia. Really? I hope you're doing all right. And JJ says, I'm cutting out. Am I doing all right now? I think it was because of the article. Certain articles Restream doesn't like. Gary says self-serving pardons should be reversible. And Jane says bullet casing that killed the CEO had words on them, denial and defy. Denial and Defy is the name of is the title of a book on health insurance. That's the connection. If that's a legitimate connection and it wasn't put on the shell casings to misdirect another possible motive. JJ says that he's going to pardon Schiff from getting bang bang from Fang Fang. Yeah. Monkey says, man, Biden's really going to make the Democrats even more corrupted by doing this crap, as I catch up a couple of comments. John's Life says they're going to get paranoid so they don't effing rot like they need to. Pardoned, excuse me, I read that wrong. And Nature Nerd says Fauci should be in prison for Monkey Island experiment. Yeah, well, good luck with that. And Gary says supposedly Hunter can't plead the Fifth Amendment now if called before Congress to testify. Get out from under there. And that was Monkey. By the way, let me fix this. Hopefully I'm still connected and he didn't pull any cables out. That was Monkey underneath the desk knocking everything down. And now he's over here in the corner because I think he scared himself. Sorry about that, guys. And as I catch up, Lucky has joined us. He said, sorry, I'm late. What did I miss? We were just talking about the assassination that took place in New York with United Healthcare. And now we're on the subject of Biden and the possibility of pardoning, preemptively pardoning. And this is the part, like I said, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know if you could do that, preemptively pardoning Schiff and Fauci and others. They got a list for if they are brought to trial, that they will automatically get off. So that we can automatically get off. He can automatically get off. And people are telling me I'm still connected properly. Okay, good. Nature Nerd says Joe Biden, a family man, the Hunter Biden pardon was the easiest thing to do. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, if we're being honest, if it was our kid and they weren't totally estranged from us, we'd at least consider it. I think most people would at least consider it. The problem lies in that he said the whole time he wouldn't, under no circumstances, do that, and he did anyways. And then also, he pardoned him for things that people have gone to prison for under laws that Biden either wrote or co-wrote as senator. And that's, there's some irony there, a lot of it. Sven said Hunter's pardon spanned almost 11 years, not just the gun thing. Yeah, it goes all the way back to 2014. So just about. And there's Kimberly Ray, rather. He says there was an earthquake in California. Was there? Whereabouts in California? I haven't heard anything about an earthquake yet. But yeah, more pardons all around, everyone. Let's go ahead and do that so that people will never be held accountable, even though I know a lot of people have gone on and on about how Anthony Fauci needs to go to prison. It won't matter if he does, because he's just a scapegoat. He'll go to prison and take the rap for 50, 100 other people, 500 other people that are just as guilty and just as involved, that will get off. And if he decides he is going to talk, he'll get Epsteined. The cameras suddenly won't work. The cameras will go out in his cell for 15 minutes, and it's like, oh, he hung himself up in his cell with shoelaces or something. Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah, Gary says left-wing double standards, exactly. And Nature Nerd says South Korea wouldn't tolerate this pardon thing. Or Vietnam, who's about to execute somebody for embezzlement. Remember? We read that the other day. And Kimberly suggests, come on, man, did anybody really think he wouldn't pardon Hunter? A lot of people, at least the media, is pretending like they're surprised. Like, I just don't understand. He kept saying he wouldn't do that. Yeah, he kept saying he wouldn't do that. That means that he'll keep his word, I'm sure, because he's always been so honest and transparent the entire 50 years that he's been in office, and he's kept every promise that he's ever made. If you look at his history, I mean, he was going to do that. There's no way. John's Life said he's fairly left-leaning politically, but Democrats are straight tyrants. It's crazy. I think that they got too much of a free ride for too long, because, I'm not in favor of either party, really, either of the two major parties, which would be Democrat and Republican. I don't trust either of them. I really don't. But for some reason, and I read the stories of corruption constantly on here. It's like almost every day there's something of some Democrat politician. We read a few yesterday. Getting in trouble for nepotism, for misappropriation of funds, for something, for bribery, for making threats. It seems like the Democrat Party seems to attract a lot more of that. Or it's more, that party's more appealing to people that gravitate towards it. Or maybe they're just too stupid to be able to cover it up as efficiently as Republicans, for example. I don't know what the deal is, but I mean, look at the people we read about even yesterday. Tiffany Henyard, who the Democrat Party won't even allow a nomination again to try to keep her from becoming mayor again. The district attorney of Fulton County, Fonnie Willis, another Democrat. The Democrat, oh God, I can't think of her name, Anderson, that we read about yesterday, who's the first Muslim African illegal immigrant who officially got citizenship in 2019 to be a councilwoman in Boston, that is under all sorts of federal investigations now. We read her story yesterday, who, by the way, she finally came forward this morning and made a statement that said that she doesn't understand because she's always been transparent. Really, you got charged already and found guilty with nepotism, with misappropriation of funds, with failure to report donations, and so on. Jones Life said Stacey Abrams has been quiet, thankfully. We read something from her 2 weeks ago. She's not that quiet. She's out there, but she's keeping a low profile, I think. And Brian suggests Republicans are the lesser of two evils. And JJ says you shouldn't trust any political party. Washington warned us about that. No, you shouldn't fully trust any of them. Never, never. Because this is what happens. While we're still talking about Biden, though, and this ties in with the thumbnail. Ravenous suggests an earthquake off the coast of California, tsunami warning in effect. Haven't seen that. I have not seen anything about that yet. We're going to jump to a Fox News article talking about Biden. There we go. It says Biden appears to rest his eyes at African summit in Angola. Biden closed his eyes and rested his head on his hand during a roundtable summit with African leaders. Yeah, President Biden appeared to rest his eyes during a summit with African leaders in Lobito, Angola, in a moment that was caught on video. Seated in the middle of the table with various officials from African countries, the 82-year-old president can be seen closing his eyes and resting his head while Tanzania's Vice President Philip Mpango spoke. Biden's eyes remained closed for more than a minute. Otherwise, he was alert and gave remarks before and after the brief period. Sure. I don't know why they're covering for him, especially Fox. Here's the clip. I can run the clip for you if it'll let me. The video clip. Any second now. Come on.
The Mystical DIY is a state-of-the-art heat pump.
And of course it wants to show me a freaking ad. You just can't win. You can't win. Can't win. Because I was going to show you the video clip because you can see him nodding in his hand, shaking. And I know that feeling when you're trying to stay awake and you're fighting it. You're fighting that sleep because you don't want to be embarrassed. Here he is. Look at him. Watch his hand. You see his head moving forward and his hand starts to lurch forward, and then he lifts his hand back up again and puts it in front of his face. He's out. He's out. That is sleep right there, friends. That is sleep. There he is again. I know that feeling because I used to look like that in college when I would sit through boring ass lectures and I couldn't keep my head up. He's been falling asleep for 4 years in meetings like this, but they want to suggest he was resting his eyes. Resting his eyes. It's okay. Oh my God. There he is. Hang in there, old Joe. Just a couple months left. Just a couple of months left, and then you can rest all you want, and no one will have a thing to say about it. Oh my God. Let me see. Jones Life says, when Abrams has been eating corn, there's lines of untouched kernels. Oh my. And Nature Nerd says Hawk Tua steals millions of dollars worth of crypto and casually goes to bed. The Hawk Tua girl, I heard, has been making a fortune. And John's Life said he's supposed to be the leader of the free world, the most powerful nation on the planet. Yeah, that's what they keep telling us. That's what they want to tell us. That's what they keep trying to convince us of. That's what they keep telling us. Yeah, and I guess that is, let me see here. Apparently there is an earthquake, although the how much of an earthquake there is all over the place. All I can find is a Huffington Post article on the subject. See if I can get it to open. I don't like Huffington Post. They destroyed AOL. Gary says liberal voters believe that their side can't win without cheating because most voters have conservative values. Therefore, they support cheating. The two-party monopoly panders to both bad and good. Well, nothing wants to work on Restream today. There it is. Earthquake strikes off California. Tsunami warning. That it says 10:44 a.m. west of Fern to the Oregon border. So not anywhere that'll felt as far left as San Francisco, where residents felt a rolling motion for several seconds, followed by small aftershocks. So it's not anywhere that it hurt anybody, I don't think. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when the tsunami hits. So that is legitimate information that was coming across. Lucky says that Joe is checking his eyelids. He does a lot of that. He does a lot of that. He was contemplating how to waste more money and mire the government in more regulations before Trump comes in so that he can't fix the mess. Gary says aftershocks. Yeah, Sharknado is coming. Sharknado will hit San Francisco. And I'm not worried about it at all. While Biden is in Africa, though, he sure didn't mind throwing more of our money around because he gave a ton of it to them, to the tune of about $1 billion. Daily Caller article coming up here. America is last. GOP slams Biden for sending Africa $1 billion as hurricane-ravaged regions. That's right. Several GOP senators. I would imagine it's not always just GOP senators, but really slammed President Joe Biden for sending $1 billion for humanitarian aid to Africa while Americans are still recovering from recent devastating hurricanes. During a trip to Angola, Biden announced Tuesday the U.S. will be sending $1 billion to Africa to fund humanitarian initiatives helping Africans displaced by droughts and food insecurity. I hate that phrase, food insecurity. Give me a damn break. Drawing the ire of Republican senators who believe strongly the federal government should be spending to help Americans like those in North Carolina and Florida, whose lives were upended by Hurricane Milton and Helene this autumn. Here's the thing, okay? And we talked about this a few weeks back because there's the whole business with aid that's going to Gaza. You might remember there was a caravan of 100 trucks that was hijacked. They managed to get 97 of those trucks as armed men swarmed onto the road after it left the safety of Israel's checkpoints. Out in the open road, they were ambushed. And I read that article because I'm like, who the hell is surprised? That's what always happens in these third world nations, especially when you have warlords. Nothing ever gets where you're sending it. Don't give them money. Don't give them supplies. Don't give them food. Don't give them medical supplies, whatever you got. Just don't bother because it'll never make it. It'll never freaking make it there. He's going to give $1 billion to these African governments, and they're going to wink, wink, nudge, nudge, help their people suddenly. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That money will sponge away, and you'll barely see any evidence of it on the ground. He may as well just take that money and put it in a big stack and burn it like the Joker did in Batman 2. Because that's what's going to happen. They'll steal almost every damn bit of it. 95% of it will end up in somebody's pocket. And that's your tax money that he's throwing away. And please, somebody meme this photo. Look at that. Doesn't it look like he's doing something shady there? That's a good photo. I like that. JJ says, here's a novel idea. Let's take of Americans first before addressing problems around the world. Yeah, and that goes back to the old adage, clean up your own yard before you worry about your neighbor. Our yard is a mess. An absolute mess. Nature Nerd says island countries are affected by earthquakes worse, like Haiti, because ocean sands make weaker concrete. And Monkey says doing this crap should qualify for a legit speedy inauguration process rather than wait till the 20th of January. Yeah. And we talked about it before. It's just like on any other job. Just like with any other job, when you have to terminate an employee, you get rid of them as fast as humanly possible. You get their keys, you get their card, you empty their locker, you clear their desk, you change locks, you change codes as fast as you can, because they will sabotage you. And that's all this is. It's more sabotage. It's wasting more American dollars. And that way they can sit there and say, oh, look, Trump's doing a bad job. Trump's trying desperately to clean up a freaking mess that was left behind. Whether or not he, I hope he doesn't spend the entire time blaming the previous administration for the mess, even though it is their fault. If you inherit a mess, you do what you can to clean it up. You don't just sit there on your hands and cry, which is what this administration has done. Oh, Trump left a mess. It doesn't look really like he did leave all that much of a mess for you guys. He didn't leave a mess behind. He didn't sabotage anything, as far as I can tell, even though there are those who will argue, and I've seen the arguments, that the Trump administration previously was a train wreck. I can't tell, because it seemed like things were going fine, going smoothly during the Trump administration, and that this time around it's been a freaking disaster. But there are people you can't tell that to. Even if you have hard evidence for them, they don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to believe it. And you can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. But there he is, peeking out of a doorway. I like that picture, though. I want to meme that. Gary says it seems like the broadcast is cutting out at key points. I wonder if there's an AI censorship algorithm censoring during real-time broadcasts. I'm naturally suspicious. That's a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised. Sven says you have a better chance that U2's charity money gets to the right people. Yeah. I don't trust any charities, especially if it's going to any third world nations, because I know how that works. And all anyone has to do is just look at the history. How many times, for how many decades, have tons of money or equipment or other supplies or food or medicine or whatever been sent to Africa and South America and Asia and other places, and it never gets there? Something always happens to it. It never quite makes it. It never quite makes it. Unless you're willing to go down there and do it yourself, it's not going to get done. And that's not going to happen either. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to pay for all that. No one wants to invest in that, and they shouldn't. Again, clean up your own yard first. Quit worrying about what everyone else is doing. The whole world hates the United States for its interference, but they also love taking advantage of us because of stupid things like this. Nature Nerd says Peter Zihan said Biden's going to Angola is a good move because the U.S. is building a railroad there to ship goods, get a trade foot in Africa, and counteract Chinese influence. Oh, please. China can have it. Oh, my God. Yeah, let's build them a railroad. Yeah. Okay. That's a great idea. Meanwhile, someplace where we might be able to help, that would be a good idea, that's going to end up being a lost opportunity. I bring you from Africa to Cuba. Because guess what happened there? Again, Washington Examiner article, if it comes up. I notice again, I had a hard time getting on to Restream today. I was at least 6 minutes late getting on to Restream. It might still be having problems. problems. Kimberly says, how many countries send hurricane relief funds or supplies? I bet I know the answer. No one sends us anything. Nobody sends the United States anything. We're the ones throwing our money all over the planet, hoping that if we're nice enough to people, they'll like us. From a political standpoint, it does not work. Outside of the Western world, it's an analogical thought process. It's a tribal mentality. It's a shame and honor society. All we are is someone to take advantage of. They have no respect for us. So it will never work. Brian makes a little pun there. He says, what's a liberal's favorite ship? The censorship. There you go. Again, Washington Examiner. Cuba's entire power grid fails, leading to nationwide blackout. Now, you remember, we read a story similar to this a few weeks ago. This is the second time, because this happened yesterday. A single thermoelectric power plant in Cuba shut down early Wednesday, which prompted an energy blackout across the entire island. Cuba's Antonio Guterres power plant was the largest power plant before it broke down around 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As a result, the entire energy grid failed. The plant's proximity to the capital of Havana, or Havana, depending upon your pronunciation, has left the city in the dark. This is the latest energy failure in a country that is importing less and less oil from Mexico, Russia, and Venezuela. While the country is able to produce about half of the crude oil it needs to run its power plants, U.S. sanctions have made it expensive for Cuba to buy more oil from anywhere else. Now, once upon a time, the United States and Cuba got along really, really well. Until the events surrounding the Cuban Missile Crisis that put them on that list, which was necessary to drive Russia away so that they would not turn Cuba into a huge naval base, which was their intention. Nature Nerd wants to know why why don't leftists build a solar farm in Cuba? Because number one, I'm pretty sure Cuba knows the solar farm is a worthless pile of garbage. And number two, because they're still under these embargoes. Now would be a great time, since they're right there, just a few miles off of Florida. Hey, let's bury the hatchet. Maybe we can help you out. Let's cooperate. Half of the people from Cuba live in Florida anyway. I mean, seriously. This would be a great opportunity to get on an even keel with them again, to work things out with the current leadership. Let us help you out. I'd rather see the United States help Cuba than Angola or Gaza or Ukraine. Seriously. And we could go down there and update their grid and turn Cuba back into basically a resort island like it was before the Cuban Missile Crisis and before Castro. Because Cuba was the place to be. Havana was the hotspot. That's where everybody went. They ran boats back and forth there all the time, flights back and forth. Cuba was the joint. And now it is a dump. It is destroyed. It is destroyed. But this would be a great opportunity. I mean, I'm sure. How could they say no? Hey, we could turn the place into an island paradise again and trade with the United States. That'd be the arrangement. Forget everybody else. Forget China. Forget Venezuela. Forget Mexico. You trade only with us. We'll come. We'll fix your grid. We'll rebuild it. We'll help you out. We'll let bygones be bygones. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. But I'm not the president. I'm not in politics. All I do is talk about it. Share a few ideas. But speaking of wasting $1 billion, and speaking of energy, we may as well talk about the Department of Energy, and this is a Reason article coming up. The Department of Energy has misspent nearly $1 billion so far in 2024. Misspent. I love that term. It was a mistake. We misspent it. We misspent the money. Translation, we don't know where the hell it is. The Department of Energy is a breeding ground for fraud and abuse, like most government agencies. In its recently released fiscal year for 2024 performance report, the agency's Office of Inspector General has identified nearly $1 billion worth of wasteful spending just this year. In 2024, audits from the Inspector General found more than $814 million of questioned and unsupported costs and nearly $123 million in funding that could be better used at the Department of Energy. About $25 million went to restitution, court cases, and penalties, or was returned to the agency. One of the most egregious instances of waste occurred at Argonne National Laboratory. An audit conducted the year for fiscal year 2019, spending at the institution found that University of Chicago LLC, third party, which manages the laboratory, which means they're not accountable. And if anyone goes looking for that money, they'll just declare bankruptcy and get away with it. Used improper accounting practices and insufficiently audited subcontractor costs. As a result, the Inspector General has identified $232,495,716 in questionable spending that needs to be further reviewed. How does the University of Chicago misspend and not be held accountable for the use of nearly $250,000, or just over $250 million, $232 million in spending at Argonne LLC at the University of Chicago? Who's getting that money? Where's it going? What happened to it? They don't know. They don't know where it is. And then this year they've misspent, I love that, misspent nearly $1 billion. They don't know where it is. They don't know what happened. Kimberly says, I bet Elon could find that billion. Maybe he can. Maybe Musk and Ramaswamy will find out what the hell the Department of Energy has been doing with all that money. Because they apparently don't know what happened. We spent it somewhere. I got those receipts. Just give me a minute. He's like the assistant to George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life with all the string on his fingers. Remember, he had all the little knots. Oh, I tie the knot on my fingers so I can remember. Playing with the little squirrel. Where's the money? I don't know. I put it somewhere. Oh my God. Oh my God. $814 million of questioned and unsupported costs. Translation, they don't know where it is. $123 million in funding that could have been better used. Translation, frivolous use. Overspending. There's no excuse for it. That's your money. That's your money. That's my money. A bit at a time, but they take it from everybody and they spend it however they want. You have no control over how that money is spent, which is taxation without representation, which is allegedly why we fought the Revolutionary War in the first place, to get away from England because of this. And I know they'll tell you that your representation is your elected officials. I can't control what they do. I have no say in it. That's still not representation. That's like telling somebody they're innocent until proven guilty while they're still sitting in jail. The whole concept is an oxymoron. It's a lie. It's a lie. We're being lied to. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Seriously. $1 billion. They don't know what they did with it. It's out there somewhere, ladies and gentlemen. It probably went to Harris's campaign fund. You know, little redirection here. 5th, 6th, and 7th party donations. Yeah. I bet. Hey, we're not done talking about billions yet. Anybody here from the UK today? I'm going to pick on you. Telegraph article coming up. Well, I'm not picking on you anyways, not specifically, but I am picking on the foolishness of your government because it's as bad as ours. Cost of switching off UK wind farms soars to an absurd £1 billion. £1 billion. Now, here's the trick. And I'm going to tell you what's wrong with this after I read it. British bill payers that have spent an absurd £1 billion to temporarily switch off wind turbines so far this year as the grid struggles to cope with the power. The amount of wind power curtailed in the first 11 months of 2024 stood at about 6.6 terawatt hours, according to official figures. Curtailment is where wind turbines are paid to switch off at times of high winds to stop a surge in power overwhelming the grid. Households and businesses pay for the cost of this policy through their regular bills. So if you're in the UK, as part of your electrical costs, you were charged an additional tax that collectively added up to over £1 billion sterling. £1 billion. £1 billion sterling. Which, of course, a pound, and I just wanted to see where the graph is today. Currently, right now, £1 sterling equals $1.28. So say an average of $1.25, give or take. So that's the equivalent of $1.25 billion. Okay, that's what was paid to stop the turbines when the wind is too high. And the reason they're telling you they're doing this is, oh, well, we don't want the propellers going too fast to overtax the grid. You're paying for them to turn it off. But if there is a storm or the winds are too high, they have to be turned off anyways, because that's how they blow up. I'm sure you've seen video or photographs of burning wind turbines. That's what causes it. When they're overcranked, they catch fire and they blow up and they burn out. So whether they were being taxed to turn it off to allegedly protect the grid from getting too much electricity in a surge, which doesn't really seem too likely, they're charging you to pay the wind turbine companies to do something they have to do anyway as a fail-safe to keep the turbines from burning out. Brian wants to know, do I wish humans were like Pinocchio, if you know what I'm saying? Yeah, if there was some kind of physical tell for if they lie. Yeah, I wish they could. You know, what's interesting about the movie in Pinocchio, if you saw the film, his nose only did that one time in the movie. Look it up. Gary says Uncle Billy handed $5,000 to Mr. Potter in a folded newspaper. That's what it was. Yeah. he forgot it was in the paper, and Potter saw it and didn't say anything. He just kept the money. He just kept the money because he's mean. Nature Nerd says you shouldn't get subsidized if your windmills are off. But the way that it's structured, you're being forced, if you're in the UK, to pay for when they do shut them off, even though they have no choice but to shut them off, not so much to protect the grid from a surge, but to prevent the turbines from being destroyed, because they will overcrank and they'll catch fire. And then the whole thing's got to be torn down. And you got to put up a whole new one, because you can't fix that. Once that sucker starts burning, that's it. You're not going up there. You're going to take a real tall ladder and send somebody up there with a wrench. That's not going to happen. They got to tear the whole damn thing down when that happens. The turbine's destroyed. And I'm like, wow, they have snookered the British people, the people in the UK, into paying for them to save their own equipment when they've got to shut it off anyways. Paying for them to salvage their own equipment. They have no choice but to shut that stuff off. They have no choice but to shut that stuff off. What else are they going to do? What else are they going to do? But yeah, you're paying for it. If you're in the UK, you're paying for that. That's crazy to me. And I wonder if anyone else sees through this. I wonder if anyone else sees through that little scam. What a way to, that's great. Pay me to work, pay me not to work. I need that job. Why can't I have that job? Why can't I have that job? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I had another article here. I don't think I have time. And I think I should save it for tomorrow. I think I should save this for tomorrow. And it's talking about Denver, a housing project in Denver, because that's one I'm going to get way up on the soapbox about. So I don't want to get carried away and start tearing into it and then have to stop because time's up. Actually, I'm over time anyways on my end because, again, as some of you are aware, I started late because Restream was having all kinds of problems and I couldn't get on. I started, 6 minutes late, I think? 6 minutes. So I'm glad everybody didn't just run away, because that's a deterrent when that sort of thing happens. People are waiting and then you can't get on, and then they're like, oh, well, I guess he's not going to be on today, and they take off and go do something else. So, it's not like I'm Anthony Brian Logan or Mark Dice or somebody that's going to have like 10,000 people watching when I come on. It's only a handful of people that are able to come in and join us here. Moki wants to see a cat. Moki, there's one right there. Can't you see him? He's in the chair. Monkey's asleep in the chair behind me. Let me see. Come here, buddy. You can't see him because he blends in too well. There he is, all healed up. Remember, he's the one that was found inside the engine of a car and he was burned. But he's healthy and happy now, aren't you, buddy? Oh, he's holding still. He must be sleepy. Usually he's really squirmy. There he goes. Now he's squirmy. All right, buddy. I'll leave you alone. You go ahead and take your nap. Did I disturb you now? Now he's disturbed. And Tuck is here. Tuck, you're late. Tuck, you're late to the party. And now here comes Monkey, because why not? Because I disturbed him. He's going to climb all over me. So we are at the top of the hour. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, most of the time, on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. Move your tail, Monkey. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So, again, thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. Golly. And we will see you again, Restream permitting, tomorrow.